Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 9 of What If Naruto Was Neglected with Shibai Otsutsuki Karma Seal. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also guys, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, yes I indeed have 3 more channels that I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and check out Anime King 2, Anime King 3, and Anime Symbol. And stay in tune for the rest of the What Ifs coming your way. And if you're new, don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see exactly when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting more time, how about we begin this new episode, shall we? Alright, let's begin. The intro, guys. So, to do a bit of a recap from the last part that we left off, Snare Senju was sitting by the empty grave, cursing Jireya's name for doing something so stupid. Despite knowing the threat that boy posed, he decided to take this by himself, always having to be the goddamn hero, and now she lost him. As she was deep in a bottle of sake, she was angry about his death. As much as she punched, as much as she berated him, he was someone precious to her, and now he was gone. However, she will get revenge for his name. If it's the last thing that she did, she will eliminate this threat with her bare hands. While that was going on, Menma had been training at Mount Miyaboku for a while now, as Menma was learning how to gather natural energy and use it. However, that wasn't the only thing that was taking place. Menma dived within the mindscape as he spoke to the Nine Tails. Having the full force of the beast sealed within him now, Menma wanted to make a deal. Yes, he wanted to make a deal with the Nine Tails. The only way for the both of them to survive was for the both of them to work together, because if they did not, they would surely both die. As a fox seemingly seemed to think about his proposal and the coming atrocity of the one that they were going to face. However, even the Nine Tails informed him that their chance of survival was low. However, Menma refused to give up. He will get revenge for his sister. He failed to protect her. He was the older one, just by a few hours, but still, he was the older one, and he failed to protect her. However, he will get revenge for her and save his family and save his people by stopping this great threat. As Kurama started to explain a few things to Menma, that Naruto's strength was growing at an abnormal rate. His strength was nothing like when he took the life of his sister. It was far, far stronger. The boy wasn't human. However, Menma did not care even if he died in the end. As long as he take Naruto down, he would be fine with that, even if it bring his own demise. While that was going on, Hikari was annihilating all of the failed experiments that Orochimaru brought. She wasn't alone, she was with a group. The group that consists of Karin, a former member of the Sanin, as she was now under new leadership. These people were drastically powerful, as she come to realize that. However, if this woman was so powerful, just how powerful was the leader? As they came across Jugo, as he tried to kill Hikari, which was his greatest mistake. Some time passed, as Guren was at the base. She was here to kill Kabuto, and the one that took Orochimaru-sama. Guren was very loyal. However, recently, she started to find interest in someone that she saw as a younger brother. His name was Yukimaru. With Orochimaru no longer here, no more experiments were being run on Yukimaru. That was at least something she could be happy for. As Naruto arrived, she tried to kill him, but on that day Gurren understand the true essence of death. Despite severely holding back, Naruto made her rethink her entire life. When she woke up, she found herself inside of a room. As Naruto gave her a choice, he would have ended her life, but she said no. She didn't want it to die. That meant she had something to live for. She thought that he would use Yukimaru against her, but she was wrong, as she wasn't able to understand what kind of man this was just yet, as he was willingly allowing her to see Yukimaru without any benefits that it would give him, except for her falling in line and not attacking the staff. As Hikari came back with Karin was saved from sensing Naruto's chakra because Hikari told her not to, knowing the backlash that it would bring, as they also brought back the other ones. However, those were not for Naruto. Kabuto was the one that requested many of them. So with that, Naruto sat down with Hikari, as he told her when he entered the space where Kaguya resided. However, she was bound, asleep, an eternal sleep to never awoken by the seal. However, Naruto believed there was something there, some sort of leader of the Otsutsukis, and this was not Shibai. Something was there that he himself was not seeing just yet. However, Kaguya saw it. That is why the moment she ate the fruit, she started to build an army because she knew what was going to happen, as Naruto wanted to wake her. Hikari was concerned at first at him awakening a world-ending threat. However, Naruto told her there was nothing to fear. As a few weeks passed and the word was getting out, someone was going after tail beasts, and this was not the Akatsuki. He was moving fast, very fast. The recovered 3 tails was easily captured. The 1 tails was already taken away, as Zetsu found himself traveling, trying to pinpoint the remaining tail beasts so his organization could go after them, when he found himself in the middle of a battle, as a 4-tailed Roshi was facing off against someone. However, Roshi was completely dominated. He did not stand a chance in hell. While that was going on, the 5-tailed dolphin horse was running away, as Hikari was there along with the others, as Gurren was by her side. She used her eyes to quickly subdue the beast, as she quickly brought him back. As Naruto found Zetsu, Zetsu tried to flee but he could not get away. However, Naruto simply wished to speak with him. He was not here to end his life. Their goals coexisted one another. He wanted to free his mother. Zetsu was shocked how another human could possibly know this, when he realized that he wasn't dealing with a human. While that was going on, the Sound 4 was running some reconnaissance to find out about the tail beasts and where exactly they were located in Kumo, as they will be the one that will be attacked next. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across to play check out for yourself. So to say we jump right into this brand new episode. Let us begin now guys. We begin this episode with a man known as Toby, as he was currently wearing an orange mask, dressed within the Akatsuki robes. It was currently nighttime, as he was calmly observing his target from a distance. His hair rested on his shoulder, white hair, clear eyes like the Byakugan. He was around 17 or 18, give or take. For the past couple of months, Zetsu had been trying to locate him, when he finally brought news that he was able to find him, and here he was. He left the bar a moment ago, as he started to walk. This was a small village, situated closely to the Land of Lightning, given the fact that Kumo still possessed their 8 and 2 tails. Perhaps he was preparing himself to strike against the village. Strangely enough, no one seemed to recognize him, despite the fact that his photos were in the bingo book, and yet these people, they were close enough to the village to have probably read the bingo book or hear about What is going on in the world? And yet, none of them seemed to recognize him, which was odd and didn't make any sense. The masked man watched him as he proceeded to leave the bar, as he headed past the border of the village, making his way into the rocky terrain. Near up in the mountains, the masked man was curious about his intentions as he followed behind him, trying to understand what he was up to. As he was calmly making his way, something wasn't right here. As he walked to a strange isolated area where there was no one in sight, he was suppressed enough to not be sensed, as he doubted that he could sense or know that he was here. However, what he said next shocked the masked man. "I know that you're there. You might as well come out." As Naruto calmly turned, he was dressed with a black cloak underneath. He was wearing a long gray shirt with strange markings on it. They seemed to represent something, but the masked man could not read it or knew what those symbols were. Gray pants, and his feet, he was wearing comfortable sandals. As he took the cloak off, as it blew in the wind, suddenly his features changed. His eyes, they became more pronounced. Horns coming from the side of his head pointing upwards. As it seemed to match his hair, they were white, making it look like his hair was just spiking up. Naruto stood there calm. A lot has happened since he started his goal of capturing the tail beasts. And here he was now, older and far more powerful. The masked man proceeded to step out in the clearing, where the both of them alone resides. There was no one around for miles, as their gaze simply looked at one another. "The organization that you're with came after me once. Didn't I make it clear enough to them that I wasn't interested in joining their ranks?" "Yes, very much so. You've fallen off the grid since, but now you're back, and you're causing quite the stir of problems within the nation. I heard about what you did to Kage, taking their Jinjulki the Seven Tails." "Well, if you know that, why come after me?" said Naruto. "Well, it's simple. I believe that the both of us has a common interest, or at least we can find a common ground. Let me guess, your organization also seek the tail beasts. I presume that you are the ones that have taken the 6 tails. It's nowhere within Kiri, so I presume you're the ones that have taken it away. Am I incorrect?" "Unfortunately, you're not. We do have the 6 tails in our possession, so we're at an impasse here. I believe that you seek all 9 tail beasts," Toby said. "However, so do our organization. But I'd like to know, why? What's your goal? What's your endgame of collecting all the beasts?" he said, stepping forward. "Could it only be for revenge? I know who your father is. I heard about what happened to you. Could the pain of everything that you went through push you over the edge to gain power beyond your imagination to bring destruction upon the hidden leaf? If that's the case, I think that you should be more than enough to be able to exact your revenge on that village. So would you mind enlightening me? Why do you seek the 9 beasts?" Naruto simply looked at him. "I'm afraid that my goal is beyond your comprehension. Well, I'm a pretty smart person. Why don't you let me try to understand? I'm afraid it would be no use. After all, you won't be leaving this place alive." "What? You think this is a coincidence? You think I have no idea what is your goal? Or that you sent Zetsu to find me?" The masked man started to become cautious now, knowing that something was wrong. All I needed was a minute of you talking to lock onto your chakra. The moment Naruto's eyes had pulsate, he started to digitally download the masked man chakra into his system. Naruto was gifted these powers from a being that far surpassed anything within the elemental nation. A lot has been discovered about himself and his powers. That is why he told. He carried that even if Kaguya was a world-ending threat, he could stop her. And that was some time ago, and he's been busy ever since. The masked man gazed towards him. Are you trying to say that Zetsu has betrayed me? Well, he realized that the one that would be surviving in the end would not be you. So he chose wisely, Naruto said as he calmed the walk. I just waited for you to take the bait and come and find me. And now that you're here, I will annihilate you, just like I will do with the rest of the Akatsuki, if they don't hand over what I need. You know, it would be a good way to hurt my father even more. Upon revealing to him that one of his own students has went down this dark path. Isn't that right, Obito Uchiha? The masked man stiffened slightly as his true name was revealed. Taking the name Madara Uchiha, I presume that was something to give you a better grounding, for people to fear you, but stepping against me, you need to know something. You need to at least understand this. I fear no one, said Naruto, as Naruto blinked away. The masked man already turned his body intangible. However, Obito found himself unable to even blink, as he could not see the transition between that well-placed speed that he pushed off with. He wasn't expecting it. He did not prepare himself for such a speed. When Naruto appeared in front of him, Obito was fully expecting him to pass right through him, but Naruto's feet made contact as his mask exploded. His body was launched. He bounced across the ground several times before he slammed into the wall with a ferocity unlike any before that he's ever felt. The stones and debris fell on Obito. As he lay there, his mind blacked out for a moment. His body had been cautious even in the end. He pulled his head back just in case, despite knowing, but yet he felt that this was wrong. But even then, the force that he suffered was tragic on him. Obito spat up blood as he lay there, his mask breaking into tiny pieces, his head stiff. Something was wrong, as he had to lie there for a moment, allowing the senju cells to heal his fractured neck. He pulled himself out of the debris as Naruto was standing a few feet away. Naruto was calmly stepping on the ground. That mask of yours is more durable than I thought. I was trying to kick your head clean off. Despite knowing that, well, thinking that I would pass through you, you're still a very cautious man, pulling back just in time. I give you props for surviving my first attack. However, you will not survive the second. Obito proceeded to suck himself away in a swirling vortex, deciding not to face someone that could somehow break through his kamui without any explanation, and it seemed like he wasn't in the mood to give one. He landed on one of his boxes, confused. What the hell had happened? As he turned his neck, there was so much pain. I told you, there would be no leaving for you. Obito was shocked, baffled, as he slowly turned his gaze. There Naruto stood. He quickly jumped away as Naruto's fist made contact with the cube. What seemed to be an unbreakable cube, that is what he thought, shattered into countless pieces as they fell into the emptiness down below. The void of this dimension. Obito skidded back as his face was marred by the injury that he suffered a long time ago. His gaze was pouring into Naruto's. How? How are you here? He said, finding all of this very confusing as he looked at his opponent. I told you, I locked myself to your chakra. I'm afraid you're not dealing with the average shinobi here. You thought I was just some powerful earhead going around, collecting the tail beasts. However, you're way out of your league. You can't even imagine how far out of your league you are, said Naruto. Now there's no escaping for you. Obito quickly left this dimension, returning back to the real world. As he landed on a grassy field, when suddenly he watched as the space behind him distort as Naruto emerged. I found myself getting more and more connected with space and time. Simply rupturing space is something easy for me to do now. Your whole techniques revolve around space if you're concerned about it. I simply shatter the space between you and that dimension and allow my leg to enter when I kick you. So it didn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how hard you try to hide yourself. There is no escape. Obito blurred through hand sign, refusing to die to this person. He had more to accomplish. He had things to do. He couldn't afford to die here as he released a swirling fireball. It twists and swirled towards Naruto. Naruto watched the attack coming his way. He blinked once as a tremendous force came from his being. It was like a god smiting ants. Obito quickly launched himself away. Dust, debris, the land, the trees were torn apart. He landed. He quickly opened his dimension and released massive shurikens. They were large as they split through the sky at tremendous speed. Naruto watched them coming his way. He raised his fist as he plunged it into the first, right into the sharp metal. The thing snapped as Naruto grabbed the second one and hurled it. Obito jumped out of the way, not willing to chance if Obito was shocked as he watched his arm collapse down to the ground. He was going to let it pass through him, but if he could counter his Kamui with his fists, what say that he couldn't do it with weapons? He watched as his prosthetic arm collapse, the white substance leaking on the ground. Naruto had thrown the thing with such force that despite Obito moving, the force was enough to reach him before he fully got away. But it only took his arm though. In an instant, Naruto stepped in his guard. Naruto slammed his palm into Obito's stomach. The force caused his cheeks to bulge as he spewed blood before he was thrown, smashing through countless debris and broken trees before he crashed, creating a little trench. Obito coughed and wheezed, unable to catch his breath, feeling like he was dying right there and then as he struggled to breathe. That is when he felt something wrapped around his arms and his legs as well. Looking down, he saw red chains wrapped around his limbs. He immediately tried to pull himself within the Kamui world, and he was successful. However, even in here, the chains were breaking through a space in reality, and they were holding on to him. As Naruto emerged from one of those spaces, his hand held up as the chains were coming directly from his palms. Naruto pulled on them as Obito slammed down on the ground. The chains then wrapped and bind him on the ground. He struggled to move as he cursed as Naruto wrapped a chain around his mouth. I'm afraid the world that I envision, you being a part of it and being involved to sabotage my plans, is not something I will allow. Naruto held his hand out as a red axe formed in his hand, glowing. He held it up before he brought it down without hesitation. Moments later, Zetsu arrived on the battlefield. As he found the area, the destruction, he made his way. Naruto gave off a different energy, and Naruto was allowing him to sense it. He did not feel like any other ninja on the planet at the moment. Zetsu watched as space in front of him rip open as Naruto came out, holding on to the head and corpse of Obito as he dropped them on the ground. Zetsu never truly cared for him or anyone else. All he wanted was to bring his mother back, and he found someone with the true capability of doing so. And he was going to do so even if he wasn't involved, so Zetsu decided to make the right choice, the smart choice, and get involved. And now, his mother will be returning very soon. Time skip. Life continue on at Konoha. There has been nothing so far, except for the last attack on Taki, a village that was actually close by. Konoha, Naruto, they had gave the description of the one that took them down. The ninjas of Taki tried to fight, to defend their village, but he spared no one in his pursuit. All those that got in his way were slaughtered without a mercy of hesitation or any empathy. Taki was low on manpower right now. Minato realized that Naruto was becoming a global threat, so he sent word to the other Kage. As much as a stone and him did not get along, if they did not do something, the whole nation would break. He recently sent the word after the Taki attack. He should be getting responsive soon enough. At the hidden stone, Oniki got the letter, yet he hadn't responded just yet. Despite reading the dire situation, he decided that he would respond to the letter as Minato, wanting them all to come together at a meeting at the Land of Iron, a neutral party that none of them would raise their hands. The Raikage received this letter as well, him and Konoha being the only village that has not lost their tail beasts. Mei Terume, the new Mizukage, also received said letter as well. The three tails was taken and the sixth tail, Utakata, was nowhere to be found, as she was going to attend the meeting. Baki had been given the permanent position of Kazekage. Yes, he was given the permanent position. He was the only one fitted for the job. They didn't have anyone else. The whole world was coming together because this young man has become a threat that none of them could handle on their own. While that was going on at Mount Miyaboku, a power fluctuation was spreading through the air as Menma collapsed down to his knees as the power vanished. Menma was panting as golden embers flicker around him. He collapsed on his back as he lay there, covered in sweat. Menma had grown. He was a lot taller, his hair was more spikier, but he cut it. As he was dressed in his standard clothing, however, there was a bit of a touch that he was a student of Mount Miyaboku. Menma had returned on countless occasions, but he was spending majority of his time here. The great elder Toad believed that the world was in true danger, and perhaps the only one that can actually put an end to this was this boy. The Ninetales was being cooperative, allowing Menma to achieve his power in ways that no other Jinchuriki has ever achieved before. Over the past couple of years, Menma was able to achieve a neutral ground with the beasts. The most shocking part was Menma learned his name. His true name was Kurama. Menma was asking about the fusion between their powers. He was trying to do something, but he was curious as he kept on addressing him as Ninetales. At first, Kurama did not tell him until a week went by. He revealed his name to him. The both of them had to trust each other if they were going to survive. Kurama could feel the essence when he was inside of that girl, the other half, and when this half fought Naruto within Menma. Somehow this boy has obtained power like his father. The whole world was in grave danger, and if all the tail pieces were being collected, Kurama had a feeling what he was going to do. And if he was to obtain that power with the power that he already possessed, there would be no one in the world that could stop him. Kurama refused to be lost and become one with that beast. So if it means becoming friends and even helping the humans, this one in particular, he would do it. He would sacrifice that, pushing his pride aside. Menma picked himself up despite how tired he was. As he slammed his hand together, golden embers flickered around him as he was consumed by the power. "I'm not done yet," he said as his eyes took on the power of Sage Mode, along with all the power of the fox. It was an overwhelming experience, and yet Menma was bending it to his control. It was an overwhelming experience. Meanwhile, at the hidden rain, the sky was pouring. As usual, Nagato, who believed that he was a true leader of the organization, resided in his mechanical walker, sensing through the rain. Konan was observing the village as usual, being their angel, when suddenly she felt it. Everyone felt it. He wanted them to know that he was here. Nagato himself was overloaded as he found himself affected. Two white eyes behind him as the pressure slammed into him like a hurricane. His whole existence shook. The Rinnegan seeming to falter at the amount of energy that he possessed. The one that just stepped in his reign. Nagato found his hands shaking within the mechanical walker as his jutsu felt like it was being overloaded. Too much. It then suddenly vanished. Nagato knew exactly where the source was, where the power was located. Konan, being nearby, fluttered up as she flew through the sky. Despite the rain falling, it did affect her a bit, but not that much. She stopped in mid-air, her wings held in her up. There he stood. He stood in the air as calm as ever. She could feel no residual chocolate from him. This wasn't Wind Affinity. He was just standing in the air. She recognized him. That day, her, Reina, and Takazu had made their way to find Hidan, and they came across this boy. And now he was here, all grown up. "I remember you," said Naruto. "You're the one I fought that day. You were with another of the Akatsuki, a very powerful kunoichi. Her strength was abnormal, even strong enough at the time to make my hands wince," Naruto said, gazing at her as calmly as ever. "Why are you here?" Konan said, as she knew that fighting him here was out of the question. Of course it was. They were standing right over the village. As she gazed at him, he did not look at her though. He looked around the village. "I'm here for the 6 tails," he said. "Yes, I know that it's within your possession, and I desire it," said Naruto. "You must know by now that I'm collecting the tail pieces. Hand over the 6 tails. I will not ask again." Before Konan could say something, someone ascended to her level. "Pain," she said. Looking down on top of the buildings, she saw the others. She saw them all. However, Tendo ascended towards them, used his manipulation over gravity. I thought we would indeed be meeting each other soon, but not this way. I presume that you're aware of the affliction that we share. Yes, I am, said Naruto. I was told. By who? Tendo said. Naruto held his hand up as space ripped in front of him. As he pulled out the Akatsuki cloak, he held it in his hand before he set it ablaze by just snapping his finger together. I found the masked man, the one that you believe is Madara. His actual name is Obito Uchiha, someone that has been manipulating you for some time now. But that does not concern me. Where is the Six Tails? The location of the Six Tails does not concern you either. I was coming to find you myself, but you made it a lot easier. You are to hand over the other tail pieces. Naruto tilted his head. It seems like we're having some miscommunication here. I didn't came here to hand over anything or talk for too long. I'm on a schedule, so don't waste my time. His words alone caused the village to quake down below. Nagato, move forward. If you truly believe you can step into the village of a god and survive, let's see you try your best. Look into my eyes, said Naruto, and tell me if you believe that this is a fight that you can win. Konan stood there and watched as Tendo glared at him. Suddenly, the body of Tendo started to spasm until it fell from the sky. Konan looked down as she saw the other paths fell as well. She was confused. What did you do? She said. Paper shurikens immediately forming, but she was hesitant to strike first. As she looked down, worried about her village, and she wanted to check on Nagato as well. I simply showed him. And now, said Naruto, remove yourself before I do it myself. Konan held her hand up. Konan, stop. She looked as she saw the body of Tendo rising back up. Something was off though. She was confused. Why? Was he stopping her? As Tendo looked towards Naruto, follow me, he said. Konan was confused as she flew in front of him. Stop this. What are you doing? She said. You can't. Konan, listen to me. Move out of the way, he said. Now. His tone was serious and stern. The gaze in his eyes. The paths were not supposed to show that much emotion, and yet she could somehow just see it in the Rinnegan. Something was wrong. Truly, utterly wrong. Konan stepped away, but she'd indeed follow behind him. His back was turned. She could strike him now, but she could feel the sensation from Tendo. Something was not right. The other paths did not engage. What the hell was going on, she thought. What happened to him? They made their way underground where the Gedo statue was located. As Naruto stood in front of it, there, take it. Thank you for being cooperative, said Naruto. You chose wisely. Naruto stepped forward as he placed his hand on the statue. However, he didn't just touch the tail beast though. Naruto sucked the entire statue inside of himself, as there was nothing left. Naruto then turned his gaze as he looked at Tendo. You chose wisely. Tearing open space, Naruto was gone. Why? Why would you give that to him? All of our work, everything that we've accomplished now. Why would you do that? She said. He looked towards her as he simply walked. Answer me, she said. However, he looked at her as she realized the gesture as she followed him. When she arrived towards where Nagato was located, she was shocked, as Nagato's nose was leaking, so was his mouth, as he was struggling to stop the bleeding. She rushed over to his side, What, what happened? When our eyes met, he showed me what would happen. If I went down this path, not only do I die, you die as well, and this entire village will be wiped off the map. He showed you? What if it was an illusion? A fake? No. Somehow, he was able to allow me to glimpse in the future. But it wasn't only that. He was able to overpower my Rinnegan. He made me powerless. With just his eyes alone. He was able to connect himself to mine. I don't know how that's even possible. He ruptured something in my brain. I blacked out for a few seconds. If I had continued, I wouldn't have been any help in this battle, and he would have wiped this village off the map, just to show a demonstration of his power. It seems we're not dealing with an ordinary human here. For the first time in a long while, Nagato found himself feeling hopeless as he realized that he was dealing with a true god. Konan was baffled, not expecting that, as Nagato realized that Naruto did not seem as a threat. That is why he did not come in swinging, because he did not pose a threat to him. He felt hopeless. What now? Konan said. She was at a loss. Gather the remaining members of the Akatsuki, he said. It seems this meeting that Sasori told me about is more vital than I thought. She looked towards him confused. How so? I will be attending, he said. Time skip. As Naruto was lying in bed, Hikari's head was resting on his chest. 3 more to go, she said. Yes, said Naruto. I'll go after the 2 and 8 tomorrow. The Sound 4 did a splendid job. I know the exact location of where they reside in the village. The 8 Tails is not within the village parameters, but a bit behind Rankyo Valley. And the 2 Tails is to the south, near the mountainside. So I'll go after the 2, and you go after the 8. Naruto nodded his head. He had full faith in her abilities, as he did not doubt her in the slightest. Besides, they were doing this quick and fast. Time skip. The Kage received a letter from Minato. He was hesitant on attending this meeting. He did not need their help to secure his tail pieces. The others were simply just weak, unable to protect themselves, unable to protect anything. They were simply too weak. But he was not, and his village was not. So he was not fully on board on attending this meeting, as he sat within his office, gazing out towards the scenery of his large village. As he was thinking about this meeting and what it truly had to entail, he was not a very trustworthy person, and that shows on numerous occasions. Right as he was mid-conversation in his mind, above his village, the both of them appeared. Hikari glanced down as Naruto's gaze swept over the village. It seems we're in luck, as the descriptions that he was told as he pinpointed them rather easily, given that he could see the beast chakra within their system, as he could see a lot more with his eyes, of course. However, no one knew that they were within the village parameters. As Naruto flew over, the Rankyo Valley was large. Killer Bee always had protection. Guards were at the end of this valley, watching over and protecting him. However, it would take them a few minutes to get towards the location. But the few that was nearby, Hikari held her hand out as a red spectral arm formed. Said arm created a bow and arrow as she started to fire arrows covered in black flames. They died almost instantaneously. Both of them landed. Killer Bee and Yujito were currently having a conversation. They were actually talking about what was going on, when suddenly, their tail beasts informed them. Yujito tried to move, but she appeared so fast. A feet slammed into her guts. She bounced on the ground hard, before flipping as she dug her nails into it, stopping herself. Looking up, she ducked as she brought her nails up. However, her hand was slapped down as a kick aimed towards her face. She grabbed the leg and twisted it. Yet another one slammed across her head. Yujito was knocked senseless for a moment. Hikari's left leg dropped on the ground as she turned and slammed her right heel right into Yujito's face. She thrust forward, her hand covered in black flames. Yujito immediately surrounded her body with the cloak of the Nibi, protecting herself as she used it to push aside the black flames. She was lucky. That was close. Covering both of her hands with black flames. As the both of them engaged without even a word. A violent tussle that was, causing destruction to land. Killer Bee found himself on the defensive, despite having 8 blades out. The battle happened so fast. Bee was moving at his fastest that he could go. Despite that though, he couldn't land a single blow on this person. It was like he had eyes all over, as Bee twists and duck and dodge. But it didn't matter what he did, his attacks would not land, and he was getting hurt despite how much he tried to flip away. His leg was grabbed. As his momentum was stopped, a few of his blades fell. Naruto slammed him into the ground, breaking it apart. Bee had to roll as his chest was almost crushed. Naruto's leg dropping into the earth. Bee flipped away as he skidded on his feet. He looked up, panting a bit, feeling the aching sensation in his back. That is when he felt it. He felt the power of the Nibi. However, when he turned, his eyes went wide as he was consumed by blue flames. Bee exploded out of the flames, transforming as he did so. Hikari stand on Yujito's head as she was transformed, her eyes showing the Sharingan as she placed her under her control. Hikari's will was a lot stronger as she was easily able to take control of the tail beast, therefore taking control of Yujito. The A-tail was much larger in size, immediately sending alarms all over. However, before he could raise his hands though, red chains erupted from Naruto's back. They dug beyond his flesh. They gripped onto his chakra, holding him still, as Naruto appeared in front of him. His 2 fingers held forward as a black ball formed right in front of his hand. Hikari jumped off Yujito's head, flipping and landed as the 2 tail beasts stood beside each other. Naruto fired the small ball. However, the moment it reached the both of them, it enlarged. The octopus eyes went wide as a violent explosion went off. The entire mountain top where the house was situated, including the house, was destroyed. As Hikari stood by Naruto's side, the both of them covered in a red glow, protecting them from the debris and the destruction. When she finally dropped it, they made their way forward. As they arrived, Bee was embedded in the wall, bleeding and out cold. Same for Yujito, but her condition was worse. Her beast wasn't as durable as the 8 tails. Naruto picked the both of them up with the chains, tying around them. "Let's go," he said. Naruto twisted his body out of the way as an attack was trying to grip him by the throat. However, he was too fast. Naruto turned before the right Kage, despite the man at 100% coming in to just simply take Naruto's head off. A bone-crushing kick slammed into his back. The right Kage was hit at a speed an abnormal speed as he launched, bulldozering through the land as he crashed right in the water. Naruto ripped the space in front of him as him and Hikari stepped out, gone, walking in and kidnapping their tail beasts like it was nothing, absolutely nothing. The right Kage exploded out of the water despite the pain coursing through his back. A furious look on his face, trying to find the perpetrators, but they were long gone. There was no finding them now. Yes, they were long gone. Time skip. The right Kage sent word after a few days that he will be attending the meeting now, after what happened to him and his village. As we speak, there is only one tail beast left, and that is the Nine Tails. The meeting, it came together as all of the Kages were coming to attend. Yes, they were all coming. All of them realizing that they had a bigger threat on their hand to put aside their grievances. Minato headed there without a guard, without anyone. Minato was not fearful of the other nation in this time. What he was fearful of was Naruto coming towards the village. Menma was safe within Mount Miyaboku. No one except for a select few knew about this, and the information would not be passed Naruto. In these times though, he had to make sure that all of his village was protected. So, majority of his forces were on standby. Just a small portion being sent out on missions. He knew that the attack would come soon, and Naruto's goal was not just to take Menma, but to hurt him, and to hurt everything that he ever loved. And the village was something that he loved. So yes, Minato went alone despite it was natural to bring guards with you. Mifune was surprised about that when he saw the Hokage arrive, alone. However, after being briefed on the situation and how truly bad it is, he understood. They didn't have time to dilly-dally or waste, so they did not take a long breather. They were all gathered. It was the first time Minato was in a room with a few of them. It was actually the first time he was in a room with Oniki. After all, the third Hokage was the Hokage at that time, so Minato was never actually in a room with him before. He's met the Raikage before. He's also met Baki before as well. And he's had contact with Maid Terumi after their third tail was taken away, as they've been exchanging words from Konoha leader to Kiri leader. Clearing his throat as Mifune spoke, all the other guards went to the podium. I presume all of you know why we're here, and the threat that we're here to discuss. In these uncertain times, we can't afford to waste time, so let us get straight down to business, shall we? Hokage-danu, you were the one to call this meeting. Proceed. Minato nodded as he looked towards each and every one of them. I'm sure that you're all aware of who this threat is. It's my son, he said. However, there is nothing between himself and I, or between him and Konoha. I know this might cast light on my village or myself as well. However, more than any of you here, I would like to stop him before he goes too far. Too far, the Raikage said, sounding rather angry. He took my brother. Yes, and that is small compared to what he has planned. Trust me, if he gets his way, the entire elemental nation will cease to exist as it is right now, pushed into a state of conflict and chaos. Dire situations where it will be a hassle to even survive. Naruto has obtained powers that I'm not sure how it is possible, but his strength is beyond what I've come to see, and his goal is clear. If he has all the tail beasts under his control, after what we saw with the One Tails, Baki perked up at that. He wasn't able to just remove the beast, he was able to absorb it. By stealing all the chakra out of the young boy that possessed the One Tails. That means all of that power is flowing through him. That, with the ridiculous power that he already possessed. The combined effort of all of us will be needed to put an end to him. Hokage Dano is right. Mei spoke up. It's terrifying enough to have one of those beasts on your side. Having all 9 of them under your control. It's a truly shocking realization. I know many of us has had past grievances with one another. But for this time we have to put all of that aside in order to protect the world that we live in. Otherwise, there will be no world left for us to have grievances against one another. Before anyone else could say anything, the door burst open. Rushing inside was a samurai. What is the meaning of this? Mifune said. Intruders, the samurai said. All of them wonder at that moment if this was it. If the boy had found his way here, but it wasn't him. Before the samurai could say anything else, the door blasted open. It didn't blow off its hinges though, as a person stepped inside. His renegade eyes gazing over each and every one of them. They were surprised. Just a few of them knowing about the legends, the Raikage more so, having the artifacts of the Sage of Six Paths. My name is Pain, he said, and I believe there's a lot more here that none of you understand. I recently came across the one that has put the fear of God into each and every one of you. And I was able to see his goals, understand what he desires. Fear, untrust. Many of that is running through many of you right now. I am an entity that none of you are truly aware of. But I come to you as a person that is willing to work together with you all. Because I am the leader of the organization known as the Akatsuki. And I'm willing to lend the full strength of the organization, including mine. In return, all of the nations work together to combat against this threat. Because if we don't, every single nation will fall. Nagato said, as he looked at each and every one of them. That is when it happened. The sky blacked out. The sun was gone. Blacked away. Darkness enveloped the land. One moment it was day, the other it was night. Everyone was truly startled and surprised by what they were witnessing. They were utterly baffled. Nagato stepped forward towards a window nearby. It's him. All of the Kages rose as he looked outside. It looked like hell was falling on the elemental nation. Thunder and lightning. The ground trembling, the heavens quaking. The whole land shaking violently. A distance away, Black Zetsu and Hikari was watching. They were watching as Naruto stood in mid-air. His entire body saturated with so much power. As Naruto was ripping open the seal that the Sage of Six Paths had formed. He was tearing it open despite not possessing the 9 tails. He simply fused all the power of the tail beasts with his own, to use that to counteract the seal. Naruto could have broken the seal a long time ago. Yes, he could have, however. He had a plan to collect the tail beasts, so he placed all those plans together. And besides, he needed more time for his strength to grow. But now, Naruto was forcefully rip open the seal without the process of how the seal should be properly undone. As this was causing the entire world to be affected, the raw power that he was releasing was truly baffling and frightening. Naruto was affecting the very nature and law of this planet and existence. Therefore, at Mount Miyaboku, Minma watches everything start to change. The toads start to feel the nature energy. They start to feel the corrupted feeling in the air. That is when something arrived. Minma spun as someone stood behind him. A person. Minma was shocked to what he was looking at. Meanwhile, as the space seemed to distort, Naruto stood there in mid-air as he watched. Energy forming together. Energy that he had released, coming together and forming a white cloak. Her hands materializing. Her long white hair materializing. Zetsu, who was down below, was ecstatic as he watched as his beloved mother returned back to the world. As her eyes opened, and the first thing that she saw was Naruto. As their gaze met. But guys, me and subscribe right here. If you want to see next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends in your social media platform. But I'm out. See you guys soon. Peace, guys.